Hey everyone, I am finally getting around to posting an update video for the Dominating Blow guide that I posted before the league start. No script for this one, so sorry if I'm mumbling or repeating myself at all during this. I'm just going to talk over clips of campaign and early league footage that I recorded. These clips should all be in chronological order, starting from the beginning of the campaign here. That was just the first Mirage that I ran into. This is just the Merveil fight, showing that Holy Hammer's DPS pretty good, actually, for the start of the game. I didn't know what it was going to be like going in, so I just went with it and was pleasantly surprised. It's pretty strong as far as DPS is concerned anyway. It's probably not the best skill for quality of life. It's basically just a bigger melee attack. This clip here I recorded just because this was probably the best crematorium layout I'd ever seen. I could see the end of the crematorium and the lab trial right as soon as I entered the door. The Holy Hammer is still just shredding bosses. Same thing is going to happen here. I don't think she even gets a chance to get the laser off. What I wanted to mention earlier is I wanted to post one of these videos every day after the league starts, but that definitely didn't happen, and since I can't trust myself to keep posting these videos, I will try to go into as much detail as I can in this one. Here in this fight, I have almost my first death of the league, but lived through it at least. I actually had no deaths until sometime on day 2. Anyway, by this point of the campaign, I had already switched to Dominating Blow, and you can see that it's still shredding bosses even faster than Holy Hammers was. The only other thing I wanted to mention for Holy Hammers is that the one big change I made while leveling compared to what I had in the guide is that I used Melee Splash support instead of Ancestral Call, because Ancestral Call doesn't affect the minions, which is 3/4 of the skill, and Melee Splash seems to have some sort of shotgunning effect going on. Like the 3 minions from Holy Hammers each get their own splash, so there's some shotgunning to it. Apparently, it looks like it anyway. It's hard to say for sure. Here I wanted to show that the changes to minions staying between zones is a significant buff to Domblow in lab specifically, because it used to be you had to resummon your whole army for every Izaro phase, but now you can easily keep them long enough that they stay into the phase. And then this footage of this is the Act 10 Kitava fight. I was trying to get away from the dot on the ground and just accidentally clicked on the door because it opened right when the fight ended. I just thought that was kind of funny. This is my just end of campaign review. It took me 8 hours and some change. 0 deaths. Checked all the passives. I had all of them. I did every Mirage in the campaign. That's why it took so long. Or every Mirage that wasn't really far out of the way or wasn't like a horrible layout like Val Pyramid. That's just like one of the first map bosses that I did, and that map boss is sometimes a bit tanky, and I just wanted to show that he also just got deleted. This is a bug I ran into where breaches were just like not animating for the first like 10 seconds after you open the breach. There's just nothing there. It does show, yeah, there it is. And I'm not sure what's causing that, but it seems to be every breach. That was just the first Divine Orb that I had in the league drop. Figured it's good to have some positivity in here. And this is my end of day 1 review, just going over the gear and gems and everything that I had. Everything went really smoothly. I got into yellow maps, somewhere into yellow maps by the end of day 1. Hadn't really pushed that far into maps because the campaign did take so long. Anyway, I'm going to probably speed up this part a little bit just so we can skip ahead and get into some more footage, because I don't really have anything else to say about this part. So anyway, here's the start of my day 2 footage. Not really the start of day 2, because obviously this is into red maps now. But I just wanted to show the fights with the Black Star and the Infinite Hunger. The Black Star here, you can see, just couldn't damage me. I just stood on the right side of the attacks, and yeah, like I'm not even taking damage. I'm getting healed by an energy shield on block and divine shield faster than it can even damage me. So this fight was completely free. And then the Infinite Hunger is a little bit funnier. Oh, actually, before the Infinite Hunger, we're going to get into Oshabi. This was my first death. I went to help a friend with his Oshabi fight. I had never even seen this phase of the fight. I usually do this fight when I can kill her in 3 seconds. So I had never even seen this. I didn't know what was happening here. I didn't know there was a giant dot on the ground that was just going to melt through my entire character in a couple seconds. I had no idea what that was, and that was my first death of the league. So, you know, valuable lesson. Anyway, here's the Infinite Hunger, and he survives with like 2 HP before he flushes the toilet here, and I have to go through the sewer and go back up, hit him like twice to finish the fight. So not the highest DPS. Oh, and here's my first solo death, and I have no idea what happened there. I'm actually going to repeat that because, like, what the heck was that? That was a couple of blue mobs. The only mod on the map was crit, which obviously they crit me, but I had, you know, 4,000 and some change life. I had determination on. I had capped block and spell block. And, like, this is just a really clear example of why I don't play hardcore unless I'm, like, messing around in Gauntlet. And this is just silly. Like, this is... What tier map was this? I'm just going back to check. Okay, yeah, so level 82. So it is a tier 13. Anyway, here is the next topic I wanted to talk about. I had the wonderful loot bug where it took forever to click on any loot on the ground, and it would just move you to where you were clicking instead of actually picking up the loot, and this was driving me insane. I almost quit over this. If I didn't have a build guide out that I wanted to post updates to, I probably would not be playing the league anymore, because this alone made this one of the worst league starts in recent memory. Like, this, for me, this is probably the worst league start since Affliction, which was just constantly crashing to desktop. Like, the league mechanic is good. All of the mechanical changes to the game are good, but this loot bug was just driving me insane. They did fix it recently. The notes on the fix said fixed an issue where clicking on loot under some circumstances. It wasn't under some circumstances. It was every item all of the time, no matter what. Anyway, here's just another clip to remind you that you can still get crit. That one was obviously just a crit because I had a 50% shock on me after that. Here's the new boss. If you don't want to see this, skip ahead like a minute. This boss was really, really easy. I just wanted to get a recording of the first fight with it. I think this boss is designed to be easier for melee because there's those things around the edge of the arena that I assume they do something if you go near them, but I just didn't go near them. So this fight was pretty easy for me. Anyway, more on that loot bug. I am really glad they fixed it. I'm having a lot of fun with the league now. It's just the first few days, especially since I was focusing on Blight, and it just took like an extra 10 to 20 seconds for every Blight chest just to loot what was on the ground. It was slowing me down so much, and it was just killing my motivation to even play the game, on top of also slowing me down while I was actually playing the game. So that's a big reason why I hadn't progressed as far in as I would have liked, and haven't really been posting as many updates as I would have liked either. Anyway, here's Eater of Worlds, just kind of the end of the fight, just to show the DPS, what it looks like on him. That was a tier 3 Azurite boss, deleted really quickly. This was, I think, this was to show cord belts. I had been farming them. I had been farming Blight and had a couple cord belts drop. They were selling for like 2 divine each. Unfortunately, I made the mistake of not splitting them before selling them, and not recombinating the ones up to higher item level to get more money for them. Incarnation of Dread fight, easy. I hate that fight though because the roses take forever to spawn. And like, you can do multiple laps around the arena while it says go collect the roses, and they're not even there yet, which is annoying for an experienced player and confusing for a new player. This is the first Divine Orb altar that I found, and I recorded this clip and I played this back at double speed because I'm just showing how unlucky I got after getting this Divine Altar. Like, Divine Altar is super lucky, but I killed like 20 packs of Eldritch monsters without getting a single Divine drop. I ended up with, I think, 5 Divine out of this, and this is on Mausoleum, which is a pretty big map, and I got that altar right at the start of the map, so I was like prepared to get like 30 Divine Orbs, but I ended up with 5, which is still a nice bit. I'm not going to complain about 5 Divine Orbs. Just funny that it was as unlucky as it was for as lucky as it was. Also, it was on the opposite Eldritch altar. I don't know if you noticed that. I hit the 25%. Here, I'm just showing the loot bug again. This is making me like run all over the place trying to pick up loot. Like, one click just sends me running over. Oh, this is more important. Dominating Blow MTX, the only MTX available for Dominating Blow. For some reason, not compatible with the current version of the game. I've used this MTX many times. It's on sale right now, and this is a skill they just buffed. Why is that not a priority for them to fix? How is that not already fixed? Anyway, going into some higher tier mapping, Destructive Play, Shaper Guardian, still easily shredding through bosses in endgame. Probably just gonna go over a couple more minutes of footage, and then we'll get into the POB, and I can show what I've done with the character since then. Elder, just showing this because this is an easy, sort of an easy DPS dummy, easy test of character DPS because he just sits there and lets you damage him. No Watcher's Eye, sadly. And then first phase of Maven, basically cleared this phase without taking any damage, but then I failed maybe 4 or 5 memory camps after this, so I'm not going to show those, but this is what the Maven can look like when you're doing this fight correctly and not just failing memory games. Probably don't need to show this much footage because this is starting to get a little long. This is one of the reasons this video took so long to come out, is that I recorded just way too much footage. This section of the video would have been like 40 minutes long if I hadn't significantly cut down on the mapping footage. Here's Cortex, and I think I'm probably going to skip whatever is after this as far as mapping footage. If there's even anything left, I think it looks like there's about 2 minutes of footage left. I'll just go into the important stuff if there's any left, and then we'll get into the POB. Anyway, yeah, easy fight, just face tanked everything. Oh, and I think this was when they deployed the hotfix to actually fix the loot bug. I crashed out of the game, or I not even crashed, I got disconnected. My instance crashed. When I logged back in, the map was gone. I was stuck not being able to log in for a while here. Oh, this is, I think, the last thing to show here, just because this is kind of funny. If you kill one of the Elderslayers in a Mirage, the portal to leave the fight doesn't spawn, and you have to use the F7 teleport back to the start of the Mirage just to get out. There's no other way out. So they might want to look into a fix for this if they have it already. Anyway, with all that said, let's get into the POB and what I've changed on the character, what's happened so far, and where I plan on going from here. Alright, just kidding. I decided to do this part in-game because anything I can show in POB, I can pretty much show in-game as well. I will post the POB in the description so you can take a look at that if you want to go into more details. Going into the main things I've changed, the first one is that I've bought the Forbidden Jewels for Sanctuary. This is the Inquisitor node that gives you free consecrated ground while stationary, and consecrated ground you create makes enemies take more damage. You won't get the secondary effect of the consecrated ground with this because we're converting it to profane ground, which at that point it might be just as good to just use the sanctuary consecrated ground and a bottled faith and just drop the profane ground idea entirely. But I haven't done the math on it yet, but I still think the Profane Ground is probably a lot stronger, at least until you get really high crit numbers on your minions where you just don't need the Profane Ground to have them crit. The other problem with this is that the Profane Ground it creates, the Consecrated Ground it creates, which turns into Profane Ground, is very small. We can check this. I have to take off my Spore Guard because it is creating all this fungal ground, which is getting in the way. So you can see this area around me, this is the profane ground that it's creating, which this is big enough that I'm in melee range. The enemy will be on the profane ground, which is the important part. The important part of it is that the enemy is on it, but it is also nice to have your minions on it, and this just will not fit all of your minions on. You might get, let's say the enemy's in front of you, you might get like 4 or 5 minions on the profane ground at the same time, also able to attack the enemy, which is not ideal, but it is still something, so it might still be worth using a Sulfur Flask. This is the reason I went with this combo, is because I did not like the unreliability of a Sulfur Flask for Consecrated Ground. If anyone has any other ideas for an easy way to create Consecrated Ground, let me know, but this is the best I've come up with so far. Other than that, the next big thing to talk about is this new exceptional support gem called Divine Sentinel. This works with Sentinel skills, which are like Dominating Blow and Absolution, and it causes each of your sentinels, each of your minions, to have a different aura, and it seems to reliably spawn ones that you don't already have the aura for, so you don't have to worry about getting like duplicate auras and not getting all 5 of the different auras at once. It seems like if you have 5 minions up, you will have all 5 different auras they can have. One of them is Fizz as Fire, one of them is Fizz as Lightning, one of them is Life Regen, one of them is Chaos Resist, and I forget what the other one is. But they're all pretty nice to have. The Fizz as Fire and Fizz as Lightning are each 15%, which makes this a competent DPS support. It's not the best damage support you could put here, but it's good enough, and like the rest of it feels really nice. So this is what I'm using now instead of Ruthless, which was in the POB, and I will just swap this out for melee splash while mapping. I only use this Divine Sentinel while like end game bossing. I just have this in here now because I think I was bossing before I went to bed last night. Other changes to the gems are I've separated Convocation away into my body armor here. The body armor is just 5 linked anyway, so that I can put my Desecrate and Spirit Offering and Assassin's Mark all on Arcanist brand, because it is just too many buttons to have all of these. There was a comment on the guide video saying this as well, that it's just too many buttons, and I agree. So I've put 3 of these buttons onto Arcanist brand. It is much more comfortable. I also mentioned this in the pinned comment on the guide video, but I had originally suggested you could put Convocation on automation support to have it casting often enough to keep the Guardian spell block up, the 25% chance to block spell damage if you've cast a spell recently. The problem is that it doesn't actually work with automation, because triggering a spell does not count as casting a spell, and so I have been using the numlock trick just to make sure it's always casting, because it's just too much work to be pressing it all the time manually. And I still think that removing the ability to bind instant casts to left click is just one of the worst changes they've ever made to the game, and I still am dreaming that they will roll that back at some point, because it is an awful short-sighted change, objectively. The only other thing I've changed with the gems is that I'm not using a low-level precision, which I had mentioned in the guide. I'm just using Enlighten, Haste, Skitterbutts, and Determination. The precision doesn't seem to matter a whole lot, and I just didn't have the gem room after I set up the Arcanist brand and moved Convocation. This Convocation here also means I don't have room to put Elemental Army here. I might find a way to squeeze that in later, but I don't think it matters that much. The exposure from Elemental Army is basically nothing as far as DPS. I could replace Maim, because this is also basically nothing as far as DPS, and Elemental Army at least does give some resistances to the Animate Guardian and Spectre, so that is probably the correct thing to do here. Going over the gear, this weapon I got fairly lucky crafting. I was just slamming Essences of Fear on it until I hit +2 melee gems, and after hitting the +2 melee gems, I had 2 open suffixes. So I first crafted like Intelligence on it just to block Intelligence, and then Exalted slammed it, and I got really lucky. I hit the Mana Leech that I wanted, and then I just crafted the increased attack speed after that. This is serviceable for now, but this can still be upgraded significantly. There could be another +1 gem level on there, or this could be Shaper influenced for a 20% more damage with socketed skills, or I could have minion attack speed on here, which is actually a big one, because that also translates to character attack speed. That often requires a multi-mod to get both attack speed and minion attack speed. So I will be crafting another one of these. I just don't know when. This is fine for now. Helmet, I just bought the most affordable +2 minion helm that I could find that had some usable stat on it. The fire resist is obviously nice because it's a resist, which I will probably change because my fire is way over and my cold needs to be bumped up a little bit. The regen I also looked for, because one of the things I noticed I was dying to, as shown in the start of this video, was dots. So just getting the extra regen was helpful, but at some point I'll have to upgrade this helmet because it's basically just fire resist and +2 minion skills and like nothing else. My amulet is extremely basic right now because I will at some point upgrade to a replica Dragonfang's flight, but they're so expensive right now. They're about 20 divine, and I just cannot justify that because they won't hold that value. Dominating Blow never holds its value later into a league. I can't see this one being any different, so I'm just using a very basic amulet right now, just with the anointment that I need on it. Rings are also still very basic. These can very easily be upgraded. These were basically like campaign rings, I think. I don't think I even bought these. I think I found both of these in the campaign. Gloves also, these could stand to be upgraded, but I will be using Admiral's Arrogance at some point, which will be another +3 levels to Dominating Blow, but there's like no other stats on Admiral's Arrogance, so I will need to get these resists and life elsewhere, and even the 20 dex. So I really need to upgrade these rings. I'll need a better helmet. I just upgraded my boots last night. These are actually really nice boots. I bought the Fractured Base. I was slamming Dexterity Essences on them and just hit something really nice here. At some point, I'll want Brittle Ground instead of the movement speed probably, but I hit the movement speed and decided that was good enough. Belt, this was a Syndicate drop, I think from the campaign or really early maps, and it just dropped with like decent stats and resists, so I crafted some more resists on it and went with it, but this can still be upgraded. So like everything here, all of this pretty much except for the body armor and boots can be very easily upgraded. The helmet will be expensive to upgrade, but at some point it will be very easily upgraded. The next step for me is probably the jewelry, the rings and the belt, maybe a better amulet, but I don't want to spend too much on an amulet when I want Replica Dragonfang's Flight. After those, probably get Admiral's Arrogance once I've fixed all of my other stats with the jewelry slots so that I don't mind losing these glove stats. And then from there, I probably upgrade to a better weapon. And the last thing will be the Replica Dragonfang's Flight, unless I just come across a ton of currency. It's really hard for me to recommend even buying Replica Dragonfang's Flight right now because it's so expensive. So if you wanted something else to do in the meantime, you could use like the Eternal Struggle with mana reservation efficiency implicit. That would be a pretty decent amulet to use. There isn't really much else that's good for Dominating Blow because it doesn't have like a physical tag, so you can't use like a +1 physical amulet. You could, I guess, use a +1 spell amulet because as long as you have Val Domination, it does have a spell tag, so that should work. But +1, there's no way to get a +2 on an amulet, is what I'm saying. The only way to get more than +1 is with a Replica Dragonfang's Flight, as far as I know anyway. I could be wrong on that. So you can either use a good rare amulet, or you can buy an Eternal Struggle, which are pretty decent, or you can save up like 20 divines for Replica Dragonfang's Flight, which, like I said, will probably not hold its value. So just, if you're going to invest in that, make sure you actually want to keep playing this character for a while, because it will likely not sell for the 20 divine back when you're done with it. Flask setup is basically what I have in the POB. Some of the suffixes have been mixed around a little bit, but they're set up so that they are basically always online. I am using a Quartz Flask because I went with the Sanctuary setup to automate Consecrated Ground, so I didn't need the Sulfur Flask. Although, I might still want a Sulfur Flask just for the bigger Consecrated Ground or bigger Profane Ground. Oh, I might have moused over this at some point too. I did buy my Greater Multistrike. This was the first big purchase that I made because this is literally Awakened Multistrike, and I don't know how many people have actually noticed that yet. Awakened Multistrike got up to like 70 Divine last season. This was 13 Divine when I bought it this season, and I think it was up to 16 or 17 the next day. I don't know what it's at now. I haven't checked. It's at 15, so it's staying around the same value, but I suspect this could still skyrocket pretty easily. So I think it's a good idea to get in on this early if you have the currency for it, and this is something that will probably hold its value, maybe even go up, because high-end builds like Flicker Strike will really want this when they are optimizing their builds. I still need to get a better cluster jewel. This one only has Blessed Rebirth and some stats on it. I went through like 2,000 alterations trying to roll one that had Blessed Rebirth and Life from Death on it and just couldn't hit it. At some point I'll get it. I think they're like 3 divine to buy. I could just buy one at this point, but I usually like to craft my own cluster jewels. That's about it for the character. I will try to post some crafting shorts just for each slot that I craft an item for. I forgot to do that for the staff. I meant to, but I hit the staff pretty quickly. It took like 4 essences and 1 exalted orb, so I just wasn't thinking about it when that happened. But I will try to actually post crafting videos because I know some people have been asking about crafting steps for each of the items that I recommend, even though most of the stats that I recommend on items are not like exact, but some of them are pretty specific. The staff is one that's pretty specific, so probably a good idea to have a crafting guide up for that. Other than that, I'll just show what I've been farming. The main thing I've been doing is Blight with Exarch Altars. This is the tree for that. It's been really profitable so far, no complaints. Another tree is Essences, Heist, and Destructive play. The point of this one is just to pop the Essences and Heist and then do the bosses at the end of the map and get out. So this is good on like a linear map like Strand. And then my last tree is Eater of Worlds, Ambush, and Delve. So this is mainly strong boxes. The Delve is here because I have been doing some Delve. It was in the start of the video. But also, this combos with Ambush pretty well because this is about a 1 in 3 chance on each Sulfite vein to get an extra strong box. And just going down here for a second just to show that I don't quite have all of the Atlas skill points yet. I actually didn't know until looking right now that each Nightmare map is a point now. So that is good to know. I'll probably do those right after I finish this. If you want an easy way to clear Nightmare maps without worrying about the annoying mods on them, use a Dextral Scarab and a Sinistral Scarab, and it will remove all of the mods from the map. So you are basically just running a white map, just a no mods map, Nightmare map that will give you your skill point and your 5th Scarab slot on your map device. And then the remaining invitations are the Feared and the Remembered. The Remembered is just really annoying to encounter. And the Feared, I need to do a second Incarnation of Dread because you can't have the Maven witness the first one, which is also why the Remembered is annoying to encounter. Other than that, I think I have the Feared already set up except for Incarnation of Dread. So once I get those done, I will have all of my Atlas points done. Anyway, I'm going to leave it there. If you have any questions, let me know. I will try to post crafting videos for you to follow. But other than that, I can't really promise frequent updates because, like I said, I wanted to post more videos like this, but I just have been too lazy or too busy or too tired to do that. So hopefully things are going well for you. And if you are running into any problems, any questions, shoot me a comment and I will try to answer them. If you look on the first video, I've been answering just about every comment on there, which, it takes away some time for me to play the game, but I think it's important to actually make sure the people following my guide are enjoying themselves. So with all that said, I'm going to get back to playing the game, and I wish you good luck with your grind.